Now we're on to our fourth and final award of the evening, and this is an award for Magical Team. The spirit of this award is, you guys nailed it. It's the funnest one to say, so I think I'll say it again. You guys nailed it. To introduce this award, I asked to come up on stage Raquel Gonzalez from Bank of America. Raquel?
Thank you, Jonathan. It is an honor to be with all of you tonight to introduce the Magical Team Award. Every so often, extraordinary people come together to take the world by storm. Individual focus is put to the side for the greater good of the team, which further solidifies their strength and abilities. Bank of America has the honor of working with this team across the country. And we're so fortunate that they're headquartered right here in Silicon Valley, where we have witnessed firsthand the power of their creativity and extraordinary commitment to offer educational tools that meet the needs of the future. What's really interesting is this team started with one person working out of a walk-in closet, tutoring his cousin in mathematics over the internet. Before long, other relatives were asking for his tutoring as well. And today, there are hundreds of team members operating out of 5 countries with subjects well beyond math. The curriculum includes grammar, biology, chemistry, physics, history, economics, finance, and more. Bank of America is proud to have joined forces with this team in 2013 to create free tools and information to help improve financial literacy through bettermoneyhabits.com. And today in Silicon Valley, we have over 20 Bank of America employees who volunteer their time to deliver the curriculum to those in our community who need just additional support and guidance. Some of them are here with us tonight, table 24. We're so pleased to be presenting the 2018 Magical Team Award to Khan Academy. Let's welcome Ginny Lee and Shantanu Sinha, the current and past presidents and chief operating officers, who will be joined on stage for a conversation with Jeffrey Moore.
No, we've got to do the photo opportunity here.
Yes.
Photo. Yeah. Okay, that's right here. I'll stand behind. Yeah. Great, thanks. It's a small hat, but you know, you can wear it. So before we get started, again, as we did with the prior one, there's a film we'd like to roll, and I think you might recognize the person in the film. Could you please roll the video, please? That's the first time I've ever seen him silent.
Hello, I'm Sal Khan, founder and CEO of the not-for-profit Khan Academy. And I am super honored that Khan Academy's team has won this Magical Teams Award from the Churchill Club. When the Churchill Club first gave an award to Khan Academy back in 2011, we were a much, much smaller organization. And I like to think of Khan Academy in different phases. Back in 2011, it was the time where, frankly, I had just emerged from the closet, from a one-person organization to becoming a real organization, and we just started to have our first significant team. And over the last 7 or 8 years, things have expanded dramatically in terms of the amount of impact. We now have over 65 million registered users. We're being used around the world. We're the official practice platform for the SAT. Several efficacy studies have come out showing that when students even use Khan Academy for as little as 30 minutes a week, that it can accelerate their growth, their learning growth by 30% or more. So all sorts of exciting things have been happening at Khan Academy. And frankly, I get disproportionate of the credit for it, but because it's really all about these teams. And so I'm so glad that we are getting this particular award. Now, Khan Academy has over 230 people all over the world, and those are just the formal people part of the Khan Academy team. I would even expand that to the tens of thousands of people who have helped volunteer for Khan Academy, who helped translate content, who have donated to Khan Academy. We have several hundred thousands of donors every year who are giving into this mission. Many of y'all in the audience, thank you. I consider you part of this magical team. But I also want to introduce the two special folks that we have in the room today, Shantanu Sinha and Ginny Lee, who are both presidents of Khan Academy. Shantanu was the first person I called as soon as it was clear that Khan Academy was going to become a real thing, when we got some of our first funding from the Gates Foundation and Google. He's someone I've known since childhood, one of the smartest people, one of the people I trust most, really like a brother, and he helped make Khan Academy, frankly, from a one-person hobby into a real organization. A few years later, back in 2016, Ginny joined on and is helping us scale Khan Academy even further so that we can be an organization truly capable of what some would argue was a delusional mission when I was operating in a walk-in closet, and has now been downgraded to just an audacious mission of actually providing a free world-class education for anyone, anywhere. And that vision is, if you're a young girl in a slum in Mumbai, that you can self-educate yourself from a pre-K level to the core of college and eventually prove what you know through a credential through Khan Academy. But ideally, you go to a school, and in that school, you can learn in a personalized way and accelerate your learning in a mastery framework. So, super excited that the team has won this award, and I think you'll really enjoy hearing from Shantanu and Ginny.
That's great. Wow. Okay, well, Shantanu, I'm going to start with you, because Sal did. And you were actually at McKinsey before this?
I was.
So you were obviously going to advise him about his business model. I mean, there was, how was he going to monetize the Khan Academy? It didn't happen. Okay, well, but you were part, I mean, one of the things about being at McKinsey is you're part of a high-performance team. I think there's a lot of that. But we're talking about magical teams tonight. And so when you and I were talking before, and Ginny as well, what is the difference between a high-performance team and a magical team in your sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so first of all, this is a huge honor. I think there are many people that have contributed to Khan Academy over the years, just the employees, and as Sal was saying, it's way more than just the employees, a lot of other people. So I just want to thank the Churchill Club. I know a lot of people put a lot into this. In my mind, the magical team, I think what we were talking about before, is magic happens when the input's coming into the team, the output far exceeds the input. And I think when you look at what Khan Academy has accomplished, I mean, I've known Sal most of my life, and we've always had ideas, and we're still kind of the same guys that we were, in childhood. But when you look at the overall impact, it's way beyond all of our expectations. And I think a big part of that, when I first joined, when Sal first kind of called me up to help build Khan Academy, it was very clear to me from day one that this was just so much bigger than us. It was bigger than me. It was bigger than Sal. It was a movement that sparked something in society, and I think it's a huge part of what the magic of Khan Academy was.
So how do you lead a movement? I mean, what did you have to do differently from maybe what you were doing in your prior work to kind of keep the magic, sort of grow the magic, if you will?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is to recognize it actually isn't all about us, and it really did take our, the early funders, Google and Bank of America is here, but there's a long list of funders that helped support Khan Academy in the early days. There's, a large number of partners that supported us. There's this community of people that just were inspired by what we were doing. And I mean, there's millions of people that really go on Khan Academy and answer another person's questions just in the hope that they help somebody just a little bit. There's, thousands of people are translating videos. So there's so many other people that are trying to help us. And, the team, we just attracted an amazing team of people, so mission-driven, that cared about what we were trying to do, that were, willing to forego stock options, willing to forego compensation in the Valley, just for what we could possibly do. And I think as a leader of that, I mean, I viewed it completely, really from day one, when Sal and I were talking about this, is this is a seedling that kind of fell in our lap, and our job is to nurture it and get out of the way, and like really just make sure we put the right ingredients. We need to water it a little bit, give it some sunshine, but it'll just grow on its own. And I think over the years, it was mind-boggling, all the things that kind of happen that you're like, that doesn't happen for other organizations. Like, people don't come out of the woodwork, amazing people that had, that could do any job in the world, asking to work at your organization, or, funders that could, they really could have impact in many ways. We're spending time with you, not just giving money, but spending time with you to try to make a difference. So I think, to me, the biggest thing is just get out of the way and let the magic happen.
And by the way, I love Jen's comment on the previous thing about if this kind of work, sometimes it just comes addictive going forward. Well, Ginny, so you come in 2016. You also were at a great high-performance organization. You were 17 years at Intuit. So the first question, let me just ask you, as you brought your skills to this new situation, what was the same and maybe what was different as you were coming into this new role?
Yeah, a lot of it is the same. How you set up a strategy, a 3 and 1 year plan, how do you have a budget, how do you do resource allocation, all those things, fundamentally running a business efficiently and effectively, all those lessons can be applied for sure. I think what's different in my experience from Intuit versus Khan Academy, at Intuit or any for-profit, you build great products, you market it a lot, you amplify it, you make it aware, you get people to use, and the people that use pay, and it's all on one hand. So what you do and the greatness of that product gets paid by the user. At Khan Academy, the one thing that is different is you do all the same things. You build a great product, you market it, you make it aware, the users love it, but the dollars come from this hand. And that is slightly different, and so I have to manage that differently, because sometimes the objectives aren't 100% aligned, and hopefully they are, and that's wonderful. That's one big difference, I think, between how I used to manage it at Intuit versus how I now manage at Khan Academy. The other part that's very different, because we're so mission-based, I feel myself having to lead more with the heart. My old CEO, Bill Campbell, once said, all leaders are wonderful. They have to lead with their heart, their mind, and their hand. And I've flexed that heart much more so here to keep that magic alive.
Yeah.
The authenticity, the down-to-earthness, the humbleness by which we're doing, and the enormous amount of support that we get from everyone, people in this room, supporters, foundations, individuals, it's very humbling that they believe in this amazing mission. And then, as Shantanu said, we have so many wonderful, passionate, idealistic people that really believe that we can transform education.
Yeah.
And so keeping that heart alive inside the org and outside is very important.
Very cool. And I mean, sort of listening to this, you just realize how much latent energy there is in humanity if we just, as Shantanu said, got the hell out of the way. I mean, to just let the sun and the water work. So both of you have mentioned a mission, and Shantanu, I'm going to start with you and come back to Ginny again. So and Jeff did a thing about vision versus mission. And McKinsey makes a living doing this sort of thing. So when you came, was there a vision? Was there a mission? Where was it in 2010, and how did that get shaped going forward?
Yeah, so our mission statement, as Sal was saying before, is to provide a free world-class education for anyone, anywhere.
Was that the mission in 2010?
That was the mission. It's been the mission of the
so
organization
that has been the drumbeat forever. Okay.
Yeah, and the way, Sal often jokes that when he was starting the organization as a nonprofit, he didn't have a whole big budget. He was sitting in his closet making YouTube videos, so he didn't really have any funding. And he was using kind of a low-cost incorporation thing online. And the forum said mission statement, and I think he thought about 20 seconds for it, and just typed in the first thing that came into his head of a free world-class education.
Blank, mission.
Yeah, and it was pretty delusional for a guy with
free world-class education to everyone, for everywhere.
For a guy making YouTube videos, that was absolutely a somewhat delusional statement, but I love our mission statement. I think it's an amazing mission statement. We talked about it early days, should we keep the mission statement? Do we revise it? We had a number of exercises with the team. And I think it's an amazing mission statement for a few reasons. So one, it's completely timeless. I mean, it is, it spoke to what we were trying to do. It spoke to the ambition that Sal had of like, simple things, YouTube videos, like the impact it can have. But it's a mission statement that you can always make education better. You can always make it higher quality. You can always make it more accessible. And it's something that motivated me when I was joining, and motivated, the first set of employees, and it motivates the person who walked in, the last employee that walked in the door this past week, because it's something that speaks to the kind of the best of humanity of like, let's really make sure everybody has an opportunity. And I think it's really served us well.
So, it's interesting. I was an educator in my first career, and I had a bunch of this passion, but I had no ability to scale at all. And so when I would hear a mission like this, I would say, well, that's great, but I mean, you can't possibly scale it. You're now in the middle of scaling it. And you have 230 people, I think I heard Sal say. So you have both educators and engineers. Talk a little bit about that team and maybe a little bit about how it works together.
Yeah, so 230 people around the world, about 2/3 are product, between product management, design, and engineering. Another 10% is educators. So PhD academics, former teachers. And what we try to do is not put an online version of a textbook.
Okay.
What we try to do is take these very complex concepts that are hard for kids to understand, that are not confident in learning something as hard as math, for example. And so we have these educators, and then we have the product people working together to say, how do I take these complex things and make it fun and enjoyable and quirky, and so reduce the anxiety and underconfidence of learning something, make it engaging, gamify it, celebrate when they're progressing up with confetti and points and badges, so that it starts to become fun to learn, and so that they start to love to learn, not solve for an exam. And that's an art and a science.
Do you have, we're talking a lot in IT, and Ginny was a CIO for a long time at Intuit, during a time when we were going sort of from waterfall to agile. So is there sort of a scrum team for creating product at Khan Academy? How does that work?
Yeah, we do, same thing. Again, all those principles of running a high-tech software company at Intuit applies to Khan Academy. We have agile methodology. Everything's the same, user stories, everything. It's the content difference is, instead of payroll taxes and individual taxes, it's academic subjects.
Okay, but it's the same thing. Well, so I want to go back to something that you all, both Shantanu, you stressed, Sal stressed, Jenny referred to. It's more than 230 people. It's a much larger world. So we've talked, Jenny's been talking a little bit about how do you work with the 230. Maybe Shantanu, you can give us some perspective on how do you work with the 10,000 people that volunteer, and then how do you work with the 200,000 people that want to financially support? How do you communicate with them? How do you stay in touch with them? You can't give them KPIs and OKRs, I don't think. It's like, I don't think I could say, here's your KPI for the, so what do you do?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to create the right outlets for people to do their best work and contribute to it. And I know initially, like if I think back on the early days of Khan Academy, our email list would just get, we would just get bombarded with people asking to volunteer, just bombarded with it. And it actually took us some time to figure out, like, what do you do with all these people? Because each, there's a lot of different activities that need to be done. There's a lot of people who want to help, but making that match happen is actually quite challenging, to say the least. So I think the biggest thing is creating the forums, creating the environment for people to contribute in a meaningful way to help with it. And it's all over the spectrum, right? There are people who are, working at Khan Academy that are, doing a lot of the heavy lifting of making sure the right pieces are in place. But then there are people, there's a teacher out in, the Midwest that scrounges together $2,000 worth of equipment so they can try personalized learning in their classroom. And there's the, kind of the grandmother who evangelizes it to her grandkids and then tries to learn calculus on her own because it's for the fun of it, right?
Is there like a success, do you know how SAS has customer success managers to help? Do you guys have people that help these people? I mean, or is it all, is there a community? How do you coordinate all this?
This gets to the heart of humanity. Everyone just wants to help. We, out of this 15 million users that come to our site every month, we have 2 support people.
Wow.
employees, full-time employees doing community support or customer support.
It's a part-time job. What else do they do? Right.
The rest is volunteer.
It's all volunteer.
They all want to help.
And so in terms of scaling this thing, because like Sal said, you know, you've been brought in to help scale it. Maybe my last question is, what is the biggest scaling challenge? As you look at the scalability, where do you see this is where we've got to get more innovative or creative to scale this?
I think what's the biggest challenge is the fragmentation of standards and curriculum, and how do we create a product that can work both in the US with Common Core or in Brazil with BNCC or whatever. And that's difficult to do on a scaling basis. I think it's also difficult to make sure that we keep it fun and engaging. That is a very big challenge.
Yeah, to do that.
Making sure that our voice and our tone is reflective of the quirkiness that we want to have.
And then quirky, was that quirky? I mean, obviously Sal's quirky. Is that sort of we just want to keep that ingredient going? That's sort of the idea?
And then I think the last piece is making sure that it's efficacious. You know,
Okay.
I'll tell you.
Yeah. Let's close with a stat or two about that. What are some of the recent metrics that you guys have had?
Yeah, I'll give you one off the top of my head. SAT, we are the official SAT practice. And so we've partnered, this is yet another part of the magical team, College Board, Khan Academy. So the product is you take your PSAT, we take all that data of every single question that you got right or wrong. We create a personalized learning plan for each student to say, hey, here's how you can increase your scores. And so we did a research and efficacy study, and the correlative data says that if you spend about 20 hours on Khan Academy, the average increase in scores in SAT goes up 115 points. And that is across gender, across race,
across gender?
across economic industry and income, parental education levels, and it's free. Now, my daughter did this a couple of years ago, and I paid a couple $1,000s to tutor her. You know, but there's plenty of people that can't afford that.
That's right.
And so the fact that we're doing that and we tell these stories keeps that magic alive.
So on behalf of everybody here, I want to thank you and the Khan Academy. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. I think we got it. Thanks.